Hello, everyone. My name is Seth, and today I'm going to be bringing you a mid-season review of The Mandalorian Season 3. Now, like I've said before in a couple other videos, March is absolutely packed with stuff, and so I have been meaning to get you an individual episode review, but there's just been too much stuff going on. So here we are. We're already halfway through the season. So you know my thoughts on the first episode. So I thought I'd really kind of bring it all together, do all three that I've missed, and kind of give you like an overall mid-season review. But before I go any further, go ahead and like the video, hit subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can receive notifications when I upload my next video. Going right into it, I'm going to try to blow through these relatively quick. Going into chapter 18, it was really interesting kind of how they were setting up this whole big deal about Mando needing a droid, and then they just, right at the beginning of the episode, just kind of be like, oh, well, here's R5, go ahead and take him. He's like, all right, yeah, fine, that's whatever. I thought that was kind of weird to make such a big deal about that. Maybe IG-11 will be coming back later in the season. I don't know, but they went straight to Mandalore, and that was not what I was expecting at all. But I really liked chapter 18. That was probably my favorite so far this season. Bo-Katan was awesome. That episode really pushed the story forward, as opposed to the first one that was really kind of like a catch-up episode. I loved getting to hear Bo-Katan's perspective on Mandalore. You know, she was there before everything happened, and of course Din wasn't. And so it was really cool to get to see her kind of explain her perspective and her memories to somebody else. But I loved getting to see Grogu with a little bit more agency. He went to go get Bo. She came back and saved Din from that giant, like, weird cyborg thing, which was really cool. I have not seen a name for it anywhere. Maybe I missed it. I don't know, but that was a really cool design, and I loved getting to see that darksaber action. Bo-Katan is just really cool. You'll probably hear me say that a lot throughout the season, and maybe even just this review, but Bo-Katan is really cool. Katie Sackhoff is awesome. I love getting to see Din a little bit more as a teacher to Grogu, and I really like kind of where their relationship has been going. And it was really cool at the end of that episode where she had to go get Din, and she saw the mythosaur. So I'm sure, especially after chapter 20, that will probably play in later on in the season. Moving on to chapter 19, I've seen a lot of people say that feels a lot more like Andor than anything else. I loved that space and air battle. Like I said in my chapter 17 review, I think Star Wars has really been missing some space battles and some kind of aerial fights like that. So it was so good to get to see more of that. It was really well done. And I have a feeling that is kind of leading in to setting up Thrawn. And I feel like a lot of this episode too is also kind of leading up to Thrawn. If you don't know Grand Admiral Thrawn, he was a big time character in the books, came back to Star Wars Rebels. He's been missing with Ezra since the end of Rebels. And it seems like they're setting him up to kind of be the big bad of this corner of the Star Wars universe, which is cool. But in this episode, we took a break from Mando and Bo-Katan and kind of what they were doing for the bulk of this episode. This was maybe the longest Mandalorian episode yet. Somebody will have to fact check me on that. I don't know for sure, but it was long. It didn't feel long, but I appreciated the length on that episode. I wish all episodes would be like that. There's been a bulk of this episode with Elia Kane and Dr. Pershing. We catch back up with Dr. Pershing, who was the cloner. It was really cool getting to see that side of the New Republic with the rehabilitation side of things for ex-Imperials and things like that. There's such a good job with Coruscant there. It felt completely alive. They did such a great job with that. And I loved getting to see some of the extra creatures. That was another thing in Andor. I feel like maybe a little bit missing is that there really wasn't a lot of different creatures or aliens or things like that, but you got a pretty wide variety there in this episode on Coruscant, and I really did enjoy that. They did such a good job of kind of building up Pershing and Kane's relationship through this part of the episode, and she eventually kind of convinces him and pushes him to go and steal things from an old Imperial ship to kind of continue his work, and he's convinced that, okay, I can still do this because this will still help the Republic. She ended up backstabbing him, which I think was interesting. And, it's not great to kind of see the New Republic and be disappointed in them because, you think at the end of Return of the Jedi, they take over, everything's great. We see parties everywhere. But after they capture Dr. Pershing, they use a mind flayer. And maybe that scientist was right at that low level, that maybe it was like nice and refreshing or whatever the terms he used, but it's definitely not when it's cranked up like Kane did. So it'll be interesting to see what her play is. I kind of have a feeling that all of this with the cloning, with Kane, I kind of think that that'll tie back to Grand Admiral Thrawn. And so we'll see. But at the end of that, we go back and Bo-Katan is actually accepted into the Children of the Watch, and then is kind of reaccepted, and you kind of don't know what Bo's thinking there. But we go into chapter 20. This episode was on the shorter side, but I will say it was really cool to get to see more of Grogu's background. They've kind of been slowly dripping that out as the episodes have gone on through the series. And it was really cool to really get a big chunk of that. They take us back through some familiar locations we've already seen in the last episode on Coruscant. But it was really cool to get to see that Ahmed Best, who played Jar Jar Binks, played a Jedi who saved Grogu. That is so cool. I saw some jokes kind of going around online saying like, oh, Jar Jar Binks is the one that's going to save Grogu. And from a certain point of view, you would be correct. I'm happy for Ahmed Best. It was really cool when they had him come back and kind of be like the main face of that little game show that they had for kids, a little Star Wars adventure show that they had. It was really cool to see him back, and it was really cool to see him as a Jedi. Not just a Jedi, but as the Jedi who saves Grogu from Order 66 of the Jedi Temple. This episode has some really good action. It was cool to see Bo-Katan take leadership, but I have to say, why are they still there? Why? That doesn't make any sense to me. Why are they still on that planet? First episode, they get attacked by some sort of space crocodile alligator thing, and now there's this giant pterodactyl who comes and kidnaps and kills the foundlings. And one of the lines that stood out to me was they said, we can't alert this thing or it'll kill him because it has killed the others. Others as in plural, as in it's happened multiple times before. Why are you here? So I don't know if that's a negative or what, but it doesn't make any sense for me that that group is still there. Find somewhere else. Find another planet. Find another cave or something. But moving on, it does seem really interesting that Bo-Katan kind of is feeling a sense of belonging, maybe. She seems kind of optimistic. She is a part of a group. She was a part of Death Watch back when she was younger. And so maybe she's been missing a sense of belonging, and maybe she's found it. And I know for sure this is not where she expected to, but maybe she's starting to be okay with it. And that last bit in the episode with her talking to the armor, getting her new piece of armor with the Mythosaur emblem on her shoulder, and the way she was kind of talking about it, the way she was looking at the Mythosaur symbol on the cave, it kind of makes me think maybe she still wants to lead, and be the leader of Mandalore, take back the planet, and maybe take back the Darksaber. So that makes me think maybe later in the season, we are going to have a confrontation between Bo and Din. So that's kind of a quick recap of all that has gone on in the episodes this season. I'm having a really good time. My favorite episode is Chapter 18, second episode of the season. And it's great to be back with Din, Grogu, with Bo-Katan, just in this corner of the Star Wars universe. I think one thing that is missing, though, is a strong narrative drive forward. Like, I can't tell you where the story is going to go from here. Like I said, the only thing that maybe is that maybe there's going to be another confrontation between Bo and Din for the Darksaber to lead Mandalore. I don't know, but he never wanted to have the Darksaber anyway. Last season, he was basically trying to give it away to her, said, hey, just take it, and she wouldn't. So that's my only guess, really, is where the story is going from here. And so I think that's probably a weak point of the season so far. There's not really a strong narrative thrust going forward. Like in The Last of Us, we know the point is to get Ellie to the Fireflies. That's where we're supposed to see the story go, and things happen in between basically point A and point B. And going into the season, I thought it was going to be kind of gathering a team or whatever and going back to Mandalore, but they did that at the beginning of the second episode. So I really don't know what the second half of the season has in store, and I don't necessarily mean that in the best way, but at least it's not super predictable, I guess. And maybe there's a little bit of a pacing issue kind of with the first half of the season. Maybe over the first 2-3 episodes, they should have split up that Dr. Pershing storyline, kind of cut it in between instead of just taking a whole chunk of that episode. I don't know if that would have worked as well or any better, but that's something that came to my mind. But just taking everything as a whole, I am still really enjoying the season so far. I recognize that it has some flaws so far, kind of in the storytelling, but I'm still enjoying it. I would still recommend it, and I am still excited for the next episode next week. So that's my review of the first half of season 3 of The Mandalorian, the mid-season review. You know, we've been waiting for it for so long, and just like that, it's already halfway over, so that's a little sad, but I am excited to see where they go from here. But that'll do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can receive notifications for when I upload my next video. I'll see you next time.